For the Commanders, Jayden Daniels came back in the lineup and was as explosive and efficient as always as they beat the Chargers 27-10. But bigger story for the Commanders is their defense showing some improvement. For the Washington Commanders, they got their quarterback, franchise quarterback, and team leader Jayden Daniels back on Sunday. Shout out Marcus Mariota. Did his job. He went 1-1 while Jayden was nursing an injury. But with Jayden back in the lineup, you could just see the offense in the passing game was fully back and fully functional. Now, I will say, early in the game, not sure what Cliff Kingsbury was doing on some plays. They ran a lot of QB runs. They wanted to test out Jayden, I guess. But it was strange. I was worried for his health. They were running him up the middle on a lot of reads, and you're like, all right, we could also not do that quite, at least this early in the game. Let's at least run the ball a little bit with Bill and soften up the defense. They said, nope, we're testing Jayden, and then they started calming that down. But as the game went on, I mean, you saw Jayden just make huge plays right before half. The bomb to Luke McCaffrey, 50-yard pass. That was huge as it led to a field goal that they needed. And that ended up tying the game at halftime. And then after just, Jayden carving them, now they're up 20-10. The Chargers, one last chance to get a stop. Kevin Minter went out, tried to send the all-out blitz. Jayden saw it, stepped back, threw a perfect pass to Deebo Samuel for a huge touchdown. And that's another thing. Jayden was out there cooking with Deebo as the number one and no Terry McLaurin. And we'll get to it, the ways that they use these guys out here, and Cliff Kingsbury really is one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. But Jayden Daniels executed the offense, didn't turn the ball over. And what was really jarring was you kind of saw the difference between him and Herbert in that the Commanders didn't have great blocking all day, and the Chargers were getting some pressure early. But Jayden was able to get out of the pocket, run, create that extra play, or just run and get some yards. And he was really, really good. 271 total yards, 1 touchdown, no turnovers. And he looked like Jayden Daniels looks when he's not playing the Packers so far in his career. When he's not playing specifically that Packers defense we saw in week 2 that took him out. So impressive game for Jayden, and a big game for him to come back right when they needed him to get back over 500. However, to me, the story really was that defense playing the Chargers. Now, full context so that Commanders fans don't get too happy. The Chargers were missing a bunch of O-linemen. Slater has been out for the year. They were missing Alt at left tackle. And the rest of their offensive line, according to Chargers Twitter, is a bunch of doo-doos. They're shitty. But they still were out there making plays. Von Miller had a sack and a half in this game. Dorrance Armstrong ended up with 2. And Armstrong is right now the Commanders' leading sack guy with 5. He had 5 all of last year. And Dorrance is interesting because he's someone I didn't know that much about him, so looking up. But he actually came along with Dan Quinn from those Cowboys teams that Dan Quinn was defensive coordinating. So very interesting. I think one of the biggest plays of the game obviously was late, 20-10. The defense just kept fighting. And then Quan Martin got a huge pick in the end zone, much needed, and that kind of sealed it. And even on that play, Jazan Newton, he tipped it, boom, got the hand up, Quan Martin, great interception. And with their offense and the way they can control the ball, control the pace, and just it's hard to stop Jayden, the game was essentially over after that. Now, we saw the Giants do it, but we thought the Giants had a real defensive strength in D-line. So for the Commanders, let's go out there and hold these receivers. And Hampton, when he was playing, 10 points is just, it's very, very impressive stuff. Now, again, that Chargers O-line has been depleted, and we did see them get lit up for 37 last week to the Falcons. We saw this Commanders defense get lit up. So they really have been lit up all season. 27th in pass defense. However, they played a good game. Very good game. I'd say great game. I mean, you hold Herbert, you hold an MVP candidate, well, he was a couple weeks ago, to 10 points. It's got to be good. So you got to like what you're seeing from the Commanders defense, at least in this week. Now, going forward, we'll see if they go back to being paper mache. But this week, very good. The Commanders' weapons, man. Their assortment of weapons. Now that they're playing, Bill Jarsky. How do you fucking say his name, dude? Krosky Merritt. I got you, Bill. Bill Krosky Merritt was out there. He's clearly their number one running back. They were feeding him, and just his ability on those pull plays. Those, we used to call them buck sweeps, but those plays where you run a counter or even just a straight run and you have a pulling guard, he was cooking the Chargers on that. 2 touchdowns on those plays, and just him in space. He's interesting. Like, he's fast. He's very quick. He's not the fastest, but if you give him open space like that, he's going to be out. But he's a very smooth runner, and his vision is very good, which is perfect in this offense because it's so much option. So when you have a guy who can bounce but still move forward and do what Bill was doing out there, it's impressive. I got to say, I thought it was weird when they brought in Deebo Samuel. He's just a perfect fit for everything they do. They just use him like Kyle was using him early. He still can do those things. We're going to give you every bubble screen. We're going to give you a jet sweep here or there. You're going to just run into people mad and aggressive. And as a route runner, just because there's so much going on with this offense, all this motion, movement, and you have to watch for the bubble screen. With no Terry, he became the X, the primary receiver. Sorry, X is what you call primary receiver. Those who don't know. So he's the primary receiver, the X. And the primary receiver normally lining up to the wide outside rather than the slot. But there are some X's who are slots now. But I digress. And they had him running routes down the field. And Jayden was finding him. And I'm like, oh, wow. He's a route runner. So the Deebo Samuel trade has worked out great for them in the way they use him. He was returning kicks earlier in the year. And so it's real impressive stuff. This offense has been cooking again, other than that Packers game, really all season. And I guess the Giants game was touch and go. But really, with Mariota in there, you could kind of see Cliff figuring out how to use these guys. And just part of that is just getting Bill the ball more. Getting Bill Krosky Merritt in the game as the starting running back. There have been reports from Kent they love him. He was going to be the one. And you just kind of see this with rookies. You know, you're going to take a couple games. Travis Hunter last night went crazy. So you're going to take a couple games, let them get acclimated, get all the plays down, make sure you know everything. But his talent, and he's definitely the running back one for them, it looks like, for the future. I mean, this guy, he's really good and a problem. And then you have Deebo. And so for their weapons to look that good, with no Terry McLaurin, no Scary, that's a sign. So for the Commanders, impressive win as they get to 3-2. Definitely still looking like a playoff team. And they needed this win because the Cowboys are right there, man. The Cowboys have shown that they can at least score some points on you. They can put up 30 on you. And they can play with some very good teams. So going forward for the Commanders, I think we'll see about this defense. We know what we're getting from the offense, in my opinion. It's a very explosive group. But defensively, that's what we're going to have to see if that can continue. They have 5 sacks, I believe, on the day. And Vaughn was getting in. So if that can continue, hey, look, they're just as dangerous as they were last year. But that's going to be the story. Can that defense keep picking it up? Because we know what we're getting from Jayden, Cliff, Deebo, and that Commanders offense. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do weekly videos for each team. So we have playlists directed to your team and the week in the description. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, and most importantly, comment in that section. I'd love to talk to you guys about what you think about the videos, what could be improved, what I did right. Thank you again. Lumia Sports. Peace.